everybody. This is my YouTube channel. Who would have ever thought I'd have a YouTube channel? But then again, who would have ever thought I would have been diagnosed with cancer? Anyway, so the first thing I'm going to do is share a little bit about my diagnosis and basically how I found out I had cancer and what led up to it. And then later I will probably share some things I wrote down in my journal. Okay. So let me just begin with my story a little bit. So I was diagnosed with gray zone lymphoma on July 24th. Gray zone lymphoma is a mediastinal lymphoma, which means it's located in my mediastinum here. And it is Hodgkin's lymphoma and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's both of them. That's why it's called gray zone lymphoma. It's stage 2B. Stage 2B means that, stage 2 means that it's located on one side of my diaphragm and it's contained in an area. So it's here. So stage 2. So B is like the symptoms I had before I was diagnosed. So 2 of them that I had were that I lost 10% of my body mass and that I had night sweats. So yeah. So backing that up, that was on July 24th. I was diagnosed. So, boop. Back that up. On July 21st, I have a Zoom appointment with my doctor, right? And, he's asking me my symptoms. Let me just say some of my symptoms. So I lost 20 pounds in about a span of 2 months. I was coughing up blood for a week or so. It was hard for me to breathe. I was wheezing, I'll probably show you guys a video later, but it was like hey,
that's the cancer circle.
Not all the time, but I was breathing. But it definitely, the last few days, it got rapidly worse. But I was coughing a lot. I had night sweats, which, long story short, he ends the Zoom call saying, okay, I need you to get blood work done tomorrow morning, and I'm going to schedule you for an x-ray tomorrow morning of your chest, just due to family history. And I'm sitting there, by myself, and I'm just like, the only thing going through my head, family history. My brother had cancer. Family history. That's the only thing I can think of. Family history, cancer. My brother had cancer. So I've been fine this whole Zoom call, and then all of a sudden he says family history. Give it like 30 seconds, and I'm bawling. And this is my doctor, and I'm just like he's like, you're gonna, it's okay, we're gonna figure this out. And I'm like, just bawling. And it was kind of weird because it came out of nowhere, and I didn't even really think it was cancer in the beginning. It just, the thought of, going through everything again, it wasn't me who had cancer the first time, but the thought of it again is heavy. So just that was a lot. But then, I was fine the rest of the day. I wake up the next morning. My mom and I go to get my blood work done. They take 8 tubes of blood from me. And then I go straight from there to the hospital, and they do an x-ray of my chest. And then we leave the hospital, right? I get home. 10 to 15 minutes later, my doctor calls me, the one that I spoke on the Zoom call with the day before, and said, just all casually, he's super calm. He's like, hey, Heather, are you at home right now? And I'm like, or just, I don't really remember exactly what he said, but he's basically calm, saying, well, yeah, I need you to go to the ER, and we're going to do some more scans of your chest. We're going to do a CAT scan. It's just as soon as you can, just super casual, but basically said that I need to go to the ER. And I was like, okay, yes, you can do that. So my mom and I get in the car, and we're driving to the ER, and we're like, It's too familiar. You know, we prayed on the way to the ER, but the doctor, how often does a doctor order you to go to the ER? Like, the doctor literally called me and said, there's going to be a doctor waiting on you. His name is Dr. So-and-so, but you have to go to the ER. You need to go to the ER. So long story short, I go into the back. They check me, or I go into the ER, I go into the back. A few hours later, I get my scan done, and the doctors come in. And so I'm still by myself in the ER. And the doctors come in. So before he says anything, I'm like, can I call my mom? So I FaceTime my mom, and he's like, the doctor tells me, you have a mass in your chest, and it's life-threatening because it's pushing on your trachea, which is why it's harder for you to breathe and why you have this cough and why we're putting you on oxygen. And we're going to need to transport you to another hospital, which is a trauma center downtown in my city. So I'm just sitting there like, what? You're what? No. Like, go come again, that type of thing. And it was just crazy. Like, it's so crazy. I didn't even know how to explain it. Like, what year? No, my body? No. Like, I'm an athlete. Like, you don't understand. No. You got the wrong person. It must be somebody else's skin. Like, I just got a little cough. Like, I'm just out of shape a little. Not me. Like, I played college basketball. You don't. Like, next caller. You know, but it was weird. And then, so he tells me that, and I'm like, my mom and I are just on the phone, and we're like crying, obviously, and I can't see her. So, but I have to wait to be transported to the hospital because it's life-threatening. So I stay till 3 a.m. at that ER, and then they transport me to the other hospital. So it's 3:30 a.m. and I arrived at a hospital, a trauma center hospital. And as soon as I get there, they poke an IV in me, and my veins don't work, and they poke another IV in me, and my veins just didn't want to work because every time I went to the hospital or somewhere, they took more blood from me. So my veins were not cooperating when I got to the trauma center. So it's 3:30 a.m. and I'm crying just because I keep getting stuck, and it's exhausting just constantly being stuck. And anyway, so I'm in the pediatrics ICU. Even though I'm 19, they put me in the pediatrics just because room availability, which means my mom got to be there, which is a huge miracle. So I am in the room, and the nurses hook me up to everything. They find a vein that will work for the IV, and it's like 4:30 in the morning. So the nurses are like, okay, Heather, let's try and get some sleep because tomorrow's going to be a long day. You're probably going to have a lot of doctors coming in, and it's not going to be long till they come in. So it's 4:30 in the morning. Go to sleep for like 10 minutes. Nurse comes in. Okay. I try to go to sleep again. Nope. Doctors come in. And then it's just like, I'm telling you, that night my mom and I probably got 10 to 15 minutes of sleep, and just teams of doctors kept coming in like the entire day. So also what had happened that day was I got a biopsy done in my neck. Okay, so let me just set the scene for you for how I got my biopsy done. So if I lay on my back, basically at this point, it was so bad that if I laid down on my back, I couldn't breathe. So they have to lay me down to do the biopsy. So first of all, the numbing shot they talk about, it is the most painful shot. It feels like fire, like your veins are exploding. It feels like fire shooting through your veins and it's exploding. And they're like, oh, it's just a little pinch. Doctors, have you ever gotten the shot? Have you ever gotten the shot? Seriously, like, most painful thing. Oh, so anyway, so they have to go through my neck to my mask and grab it. I just remember that it was so painful, and it was so hard to breathe during that time. And they kept having to take breaks because I was like, and it was like, I did not realize how bad it was, or else I would have gone to the hospital sooner. But I'm so glad that it's done. But so after the biopsy, I went directly and had a PICC line inserted into my arm right here. You can't see it, it's been a few weeks. The 23rd was just a day of waiting because I had to wait for the biopsy result in the hospital, and I was on oxygen, and I constantly had doctors coming in and out of my room talking to me and just telling me, like, are you okay? Like, how do you feel? What's your symptoms? Checking my, like every single team of doctors, it seemed like, in the hospital was checking on me, which is amazing. Like, it's insane hospital. They're so good at what they do. I am in the hospital. It's 24th. They tell us, oh, the biopsy, we found out. So you have samples of Hodgkin's. We found samples from the biopsy of Hodgkin's lymphoma and non-Hodgkin's. So because non-Hodgkin's is the one that is the faster growing one, they have to treat the non-Hodgkin's, and then the Hodgkin's will hopefully react to the treatment. So, yes, I was diagnosed with gray zone lymphoma, and that is the story of that. And as soon as I got my diagnosis, I started chemo about an hour later or so. As long as it took them to make the drug, that's how long it was before I started chemo, as soon as I got my diagnosis. And then as I was in the hospital, for the rest of the time I was in the hospital doing chemo, I could feel the relief to my trachea from the chemotherapy. It was insane. Even just one day of chemotherapy, I could feel like breathing again. It was insane how it was working. But yeah, so this is my story, and I hope you guys enjoy my YouTube channel and enjoy me sharing, and I hope that everything finds you well in life. And yes, also I'm going to share my life verse, which is 1 Peter 2:16. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover up for evil, but living as servants of God. So yes, and here's my bald head. The end.